When rumors of election interference reverberate from one end of the country to the other, you know it's more than just water cooler chatter. It's front-page news. As the votes pile up, the real drama unfolds. Who's tallying the votes? And who's getting left out? Amidst the glaring spotlight of political drama, Congressman Jim Jordan's fiery letter throws accusations around like a seasoned rodeo rider, kicking up a storm that could jam the machinery of democracy. Today, we dive into the gritty showdown between state rights and federal meddling in our election processes. We're slicing through the controversy over Ohio's voter rolls, where claims are launched like fireworks on Independence Day. We'll peel back the layers of this political drama, exploring the courtroom battles and strategies that might just redraw the map of American voting. Stick with us as we navigate the twists and turns of this issue, because in this saga of politics, every detail is crucial and every voice should matter. But does it really? As 2024 rolls in, the ghost of election integrity is back, and oh, how it haunts us. At the core of this spook fest are mail-in ballots and voter registration. Turns out, they're the VIPs in the club of democratic legitimacy. And loitering suspiciously in the background, allegations that the Biden-Harris administration might be doing a bit more than just watching from the sidelines. Mail-in ballots went from pandemic-era darlings to potential suspects in the ongoing saga of electoral mischief. Critics are sounding alarms about a tidal wave of mail-in votes opening doors wide open to fraud. Interestingly, finding actual proof of this fraud is about as easy as spotting a unicorn in your backyard, rare and quite fantastic. Still, the squabble isn't just for kicks. It shapes real policies and sways public confidence in our electoral dance-off. Cue the dramatic music for voter registration dramas, where the Biden-Harris team is accused of possibly tipping the scales. Enter stage right, Jim Jordan, wielding his pen like a sword, challenging the Department of Justice with fiery letters that claim they're messing with state rights to run elections. His proof? Rejected requests for federal citizenship verification records, which he waves like a flag of federal overreach. This isn't just idle gossip, echoing through the halls of Congress. It's a conversation that's making waves from sea to shining sea. Take Ohio, for instance, where the local Secretary of State is duking it out for access to tools that confirm voter eligibility. Every unverified voter becomes a potential bombshell story, threatening to chip away at the bedrock of voter confidence. As we unravel this tangled web, one truth emerges. It's not just about the nuts and bolts of casting votes. It's about whether we can trust the machine at all. In the thick of election season drama, Congressman Jim Jordan penned a fiery letter to Kristen Clark, Assistant Attorney General of the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice, which could have easily been mistaken for a script from a political thriller. Jordan's letter blasts the DOJ for allegedly interfering with Ohio's efforts to clean up its voter rolls, specifically targeting the removal of non-citizens. The accusations suggest a tug-of-war between state rights and federal oversight that could impact the way elections are run, not just in Ohio, but across the nation. Let's talk about this letter in detail. On October 9, 2024, the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice contacted Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose, asserting that Ohio's initiative to remove non-citizens from voter rolls will breach federal law. This correspondence from the Biden-Harris administration was critiqued by Congressman Jim Jordan for lacking basis, contradicting established law, and seemingly attempting to undermine Ohio's election procedures. Jordan emphasized the constitutional role of states as primary election administrators, supported by the Supreme Court's acknowledgement that states can enact necessary regulations to ensure orderly elections. Jordan highlighted that Congress, through the National Voter Registration Act, or NVRA, of 1993 and other laws, has reinforced state powers by ensuring that only eligible citizens can vote in federal elections and by allowing states to keep their voter rolls accurate. Additionally, it is federally illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections, supporting state efforts to maintain electoral integrity. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit, which includes Ohio, has clarified that states are permitted to remove improperly registered voters any time before an election, backing the state's actions to regulate their voter registrations effectively. In the case of Bell versus Marinko, the Sixth Circuit supported the Ohio Board of Elections' decision to remove voters who did not meet the state's residency requirements, affirming that these voters were incorrectly registered and therefore ineligible. The court stated that Congress never intended to prevent the removal of names that were initially ineligible and improperly registered. According to the NVRA, only eligible voters are protected from unauthorized removal. Ohio's Constitution clearly prohibits non-citizens from voting, which means, under state law, non-citizens have always been considered ineligible voters, and thus their registrations were invalid from the outset. The NVRA does not cover the removal of these improperly registered non-citizens. Secretary LaRose, as Ohio's chief election officer, has been proactive in ensuring that the state's elections are participated in by eligible voters only. Contrary to cooperating with Secretary LaRose to uphold election integrity, the Biden-Harris administration does the opposite. The Department of Homeland Security, notably, has repeatedly denied Ohio access to federal citizenship verification records needed to prevent non-citizen voting. Now, the department is trying to intimidate Secretary LaRose by claiming his actions to maintain voter rolls violate the NVRA's provisions regarding voter roll maintenance within 90 days of a federal election. This stance from the department is contradictory, given the established view that both federal and state governments have a significant interest in preventing foreign citizens from engaging in activities closely tied to democratic self-governance. The department's actions are perceived as ignoring both the compelling state interest in excluding non-citizens from the democratic process and the established case law in Ohio. Moreover, the department's reliance on a ruling from the 11th Circuit that interpreted the NVRA differently from the 6th Circuit's interpretation in Bell v. Marinko has added to the controversy, as the latter decision aligns more closely with congressional intent and the specifics of what the NVRA permits. During his term, the Civil Rights Division has been accused of using its authority to selectively target Republican-led states over policy disputes, while allegedly overlooking similar constitutional violations in Democrat-led states. Such actions will undermine public trust in the impartial application of law and the foundational elements of democracy. This selective enforcement, especially evident in the division's involvement in the voter roll audits in Ohio and other states before the November 5, 2024 election, raises alarms over election interference. To address these concerns and ensure that the Department of Justice is enforcing laws fairly, Congressman Jim Jordan demands specific documents, which include all communications related to the Ohio Secretary of State's efforts to confirm the citizenship status of voters from May 1st, 2024 to the present, and similar communications between the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security. So Jordan's allegations are grounded in a contentious debate over the National Voter Registration Act, or NVRA. He argues that the act allows states significant leeway to manage their voter lists, including the removal of ineligible voters, like non-citizens, whenever they're discovered. Citing cases like Bell v. Marinko, Jordan supports his stance that states should have the primary say in how elections are administered, a principle he feels is being overshadowed by federal overreach. But it's not just about legal interpretations. The letter underscores a broader concern among conservatives that federal authorities under the Biden-Harris administration are not just overstepping their bounds, but are actively undermining the integrity of state-led election processes. Jordan points to denied requests for federal citizenship verification records as a glaring example of this alleged interference. He contends that these actions not only compromise state efforts to ensure fair elections, but also erode public trust in the electoral system. As this letter reverberates through political circles and the media, it opens up a Pandora's box of questions about the balance of power between state and federal authorities in election management. If states are sidelined from enforcing their own laws designed to secure elections, what does that say about the state of our democracy? In the heated arena of U.S. politics, Biden's DOJ plays favorites, which is to no one's surprise. Congressman Jim Jordan's sharp criticisms spotlight a growing concern that the DOJ is leveraging its considerable power to hassle Republican states while giving Democrat-run states a pass on similar issues. Jordan's critique strikes a chord with many who see these actions not merely as policy disagreements, but as a deeper, more systematic bias that threatens the foundation of our democratic processes. He argues that such partisan maneuvering erodes trust not only in the DOJ, but in the electoral integrity of the nation. This only confirms our suspicions about a liberal federal apparatus too often wielded as a political weapon against conservative interests. As the 2024 elections approach, the Biden administration blatantly continues its tactics of manipulation and oversight overreach, particularly in how states manage their elections. This isn't just an observation, it's a grim reality, as evidenced by their relentless interference in Republican-led states' lawful efforts to clean up voter rolls. The left's push under the guise of protecting rights often appears more like a strategic maneuver to tilt the electoral balance in their favor. Jim Jordan's incisive correspondence with Kristen Clark of the DOJ's Civil Rights Division exposes this starkly. The letter isn't merely bureaucratic paperwork. It's a crucial battle cry against the federal encroachment that threatens our electoral sovereignty. Jordan aptly points out the liberal hypocrisy. While they preach equality, their actions strive to undermine the very cornerstone of our democracy by meddling in the rights of states to ensure elections remain fair and free from illegal influences. This underhanded strategy has prompted a robust response from conservatives nationwide. We're not standing by idly. Grassroots movements are burgeoning, aimed at enforcing strict voter ID laws and ensuring accurate voter rolls. These aren't just precautionary measures, but necessities to counteract the left's relentless drive to lower electoral standards, which many of us see as a direct path to voter fraud. The narrative that the Biden administration tries to sell, that they are champions of civil rights and electoral integrity, crumbles under the weight of their actions, which reveal a starkly different agenda. Their refusal to collaborate constructively with states like Ohio shows a clear intent to prioritize political gain over genuine electoral integrity. This isn't just about policy differences. It's about preserving the sanctity of every American's vote. As conservatives, each and every one of us should try to understand what's at stake here. The integrity of our elections is the bedrock of our republic, and any attempt by the federal government to dilute this integrity must be met with staunch opposition. This battle against federal overreach is pivotal, not just for this election cycle, but for the safeguarding of our democratic processes for generations to come. As we get closer to the next presidential face-off, the polls show Trump with a strong lead, echoing what a lot of us already feel. A solid victory is in the air. But of course, that's assuming Biden and Harris don't pull any tricks out of their old playbook. We've already seen how they like to meddle with voter rolls and toss around those so-called election protections that seem to favor Democrats. Given the stakes, it's important that we reinforce our election integrity now more than ever. Several measures and reforms have been proposed to ensure that every American's vote counts as it should. First and foremost, enhancing voter ID laws is on the table. This isn't just about ensuring that voters are who they say they are. It's about safeguarding our elections from the kind of fraud that can sway results. There's also significant momentum behind cleaning up voter rolls to remove outdated entries and prevent any chance of votes being cast in the names of those no longer eligible. Moreover, the adoption of more transparent and verifiable voting technology is being pushed to provide undeniable proof of the vote's integrity. This includes the use of auditable paper trails, which would allow any irregularities to be quickly spotted and addressed. Legislation to tighten the rules around mail-in voting, particularly concerning the verification of signatures, is also being championed by conservatives who are intent on closing any loopholes that could be exploited. These efforts aren't just reactionary. They're about taking proactive steps to ensure that our electoral process remains a model of democratic integrity. As conservatives, our commitment is to a fair and just system where every lawful vote is counted and every illegal vote is discarded. With these reforms, we aim to restore and maintain the public's confidence in our electoral system, ensuring that the true voice of the people is heard loud and clear.